UCLA stormed into the Coliseum last season and took the victory bell from USC. Will the Trojans repay the favor when they go into the Rose Bowl on Big Ten Saturday night?
From LA to Piscataway, all Big Ten all year long. This is Big Ten 10.
It is a homecoming for several Trojans going back into the Rose Bowl. Will it be a happy homecoming when all is said and done? Of course, D'Anton Lynn, the defensive coordinator of that great UCLA defense last year, he's, of course, now the defensive coordinator. He's done a really good job at USC this season. A couple of his guys that were on that Bruin defense last year, Kamari Ramsey, John Humphrey making the return to the Rose Bowl. Kyle Ford has kind of gone back and forth a little bit as well. If the Trojans are going to make this a happy homecoming, they better be ready to deal with a really good front seven of the UCLA Bruins. When we talk about USC and maybe the issues that they've had that have equaled some of these losses this season, you got to look to the offensive line. Now, the offensive line has been incrementally playing a little bit better. You look at Jonah Monheim and Elijah Page in this last game against Nebraska, and there was an opportunity, considering what Nebraska's defensive line was, for them to wreak havoc. But Monheim and Page allowed a goose egg. 0 quarterback pressures in that game against the Cornhuskers. And if USC wants to walk out of the Rose Bowl with a win, the offensive line needs to continue that great play because the Bruins are really good up front. This is a top 10 defense in the country against the run. It is a top 5 defense against the run in the Big Ten Conference as well. It all starts up front on the defensive line with Jay Toia, right? There's going to be a lot of attention that is going to be gravitated towards him. If Toia can break through and have a good game and be able to wreak havoc, that helps things out at the next level for this really good linebacking core for the UCLA Bruins. Of course, it starts with one of the best linebackers in all of college football in Carson Schweschinger. He leads the Big Ten in tackles with 109 right now. Femio Olodejo, third in the Big Ten in tackles for loss with 12. Kane Medrano is certainly a player up front that can do some things as well. Like what UCLA has done against maybe some of the better running backs in the Big Ten this season. How about Caleb Johnson? All he had been doing, 150-yard games, close to 200-yard games at Iowa. But on that Friday night game a couple of weeks ago, they contained Johnson to 49 yards and just 18 carries. Darius Taylor from Minnesota, 16 carries and 30 yards. How about Penn State? They rushed 30 times in that game and only got 85 yards. Now, I know Kyle Monangai had a decent game. Indiana ran the football. Even though Indiana's leading rusher earlier in that season, Justice Ellison, did not get over 50 yards. Oregon and Jordan James had a decent day running the football. So there have been games against teams with good run games that have been able to put up good yardage and good production in the run game. But overall, I think UCLA has done a really good job up front in defending the run. And when USC has been good this season, sometimes Lincoln Riley might not agree with how he differentiates in the play calling between pass and run, but when USC has been good this season, it's been when they've been able to run the football. Woody Marks, man, he is so fun to watch. He's the first 1,000-yard rusher at USC since Ronald Jones in 2017. Like, if USC can line up and have a successful day running the football against UCLA, I think they're winning the game. I think UCLA has a one-dimensional defense, and I think UCLA has a one-dimensional offense. For as good as UCLA has been up front in the front seven, they're not as good, certainly on the back end. I think USC is going to take advantage of that. I think USC is going to open this thing up. I think they're going to pass to run in some certain situations. There's a lot of advantages, right? Zach Branch and getting him involved in space. You saw what happened when they did that against Nebraska. How about Deuce Robinson, getting him involved over the top? Kyron Hudson had a touchdown catch against the Huskers. There's so many matchup advantages going down the field in the throw game, and that's got to be music to Lincoln Riley's ears. He's been loving to throw the football this season, but they certainly do need to sprinkle in some run game in there as well. So I think that there are matchup advantages over the top for USC, but if UCLA can wreak havoc, and this offensive line at USC is a little bit shaky, that can certainly keep the Bruins into this game and allow them to pull this upset. USC 4.5-point favorites in this particular football game. Now, you look to the other side. I mentioned how UCLA is maybe a one-dimensional offense and a one-dimensional defense. When we talk about offense, it is one-dimensional because they are one of the worst rushing teams in all of college football, which has surprised me a little bit. In other parts, it hasn't surprised me because I knew coming into the season their offensive line wasn't certainly going to be the best offensive line in the Big Ten. But considering what TJ Harden did last season, talking to some UCLA folks preseason, they said, hey, this guy could be a 1,000-yard rusher. And, well, that just hasn't been the case. The Bruins averaging around 85 yards per game on the ground this season. USC is better against the run, defending the run, than they are defending the throw in this game. So what does UCLA need to do? UCLA needs to get big plays from Ethan Garbers in this game down the field. Now, one thing about Ethan that USC has to be aware of is his scrambling ability and his running ability. UCLA hasn't been the most efficient team on first down. So when they get to second and long, especially when they get to third and long, you get man coverage. That's when everybody's downfield and Ethan can slither his way to a first down and they can keep the chains moving down the field. USC 12th in the Big Ten against the pass. So there could be some opportunities open down the field for the Baby Blues in this game. You got to keep an eye on Meliki Matavao at tight end. I think he could be a little bit of a challenge for USC in this game. He's the leading receiver for the Bruins coming into this game, 371 yards and a touchdown. Now, that's the thing. When you need to be able to create plays down the field, if that's the opening, if that's the matchup, and your leading receiver is a tight end, and your second leading receiver is a running back, you could have some issues. The wide receiver room has not lived up to expectations for UCLA this season. Like, you look at two guys that I think we expected to have bigger seasons, J. Michael Sturdivant and Rico Flores. Now injuries have kind of contributed to this as well, but facts are facts. They've combined for 27 catches, 381 yards this season. So can UCLA win some battles down the field? Can they create some explosive plays? They're going to need to if they want to walk out of the Rose Bowl with a victory and pull this upset. Now, when we talk about UCLA matching up against the USC defense, I know USC and their improvement on defense hasn't received as much national attention because of some of these close losses that the Trojans have had. But USC has made big jumps defensively this season. They are 41st in the country in defensive F+. They are 67th in the country in total defense statistically. So right around 50th. They're a top 50 to 55 defense in all of college football. Considering that they were a triple-digit defense last year, Danton Lynn certainly deserves his flowers with what he's been able to do this season. There is more than just the victory bell on the line. I strongly believe that this is a bowl elimination game for both teams. Now, I know USC could lose and then they could beat Notre Dame, but after a loss to UCLA, I think that would bring down the Trojans quite a bit, and I think Notre Dame could take care of business with USC in that state. But if USC has that win against Nebraska and they play well and they beat UCLA in this game, I think they're going to be riding a lot of confidence late in the season, and that Notre Dame game could be tricky and difficult for the Irish in that particular spot. Of course, UCLA sitting there at 4-6 where they need to win out to be able to get those bowl practices, to be able to get to that postseason game. This is a huge game for both teams, and it's more than just that trophy that's going to be on the line. This is as good of a uniform matchup as there is. The Cardinal and gold, and of course those baby blues and that gold trim for UCLA. It is as good and it is beautiful as it gets, and when you've got it in the shadows of the San Gabriel Mountains at the Rose Bowl, man, it doesn't get much better than that. But there are a lot of stakes for the future on the line for both of these football programs. All right, folks, it is your favorite time of the preview. It is prediction time. Now, I talked about how UCLA really good in the front seven. They need Ethan Garbers to be able to make plays. I just think USC has more paths to victory than UCLA in this game. I think UCLA is operating through a very narrow window throughout this game. Can they make things happen within that window? Sure, they can, but I think USC has more opportunities. If one thing isn't working, they can go to another. So when I look at my prediction, I think USC is going to win this game. I've got the final score 30-17 in favor of the Trojans right now. I think this game, I think UCLA could play fairly pesky at home at the Rose Bowl. I could see something like 20-17 entering the fourth quarter, but I just don't think UCLA with the one-dimensional defense and the one-dimensional offense can keep up with USC and the momentum and confidence that they're coming off of that win against Nebraska last week. So I think the Trojans get the win, and then that next week's game against Notre Dame, I think that could be more competitive than some people are giving it credit for right now. Those are my thoughts. What are your thoughts on this crosstown battle? 10 points on the line in the Crosstown Cup between the Trojans and the Bruins in this football game. Leave all of your score predictions in the comments below. I'm Big Ten Ted. We'll see you in the next one.
Thanks for watching Big Ten Ted, where it's all Big Ten all year long. Make sure to like the video to spread the word of Big Ten Ted to the masses, and subscribe to the channel for updates on Big Ten content that drops every day.